The one thing people always seem to ask about a new speaker or headphones, even a club or venue, is how is the bass? Being able to accurately recreate the whole sound of music, down to where sound starts to become feeling, is crucial for us to be able to enjoy music both at home and out and about. Having a rich, full-sounding bass scratches that caveman itch for rhythm and forces us to get up and dance. But for a long time, we struggled to play back the full sound of music, and it took one art history grad to show us proper bass. We've all been there. It's the early 1950s. You bring your girl back from the dance, and everything's looking nice. You crack open a fresh can of zero alcohol Guinness, and you put on your new Thelonious Monk LP. You're ready to get jazzy. Everyone's feeling good. But when the needle hits the record, something horrible happens. It's muddy, it's distorted, and where's that bass line? In fact, it sounds so bad, you just call it off. The night's ruined. Time to go home. Time to go to bed. Call it a day. Sad. Very sad. But many such cases. In the early 1950s, something like this must have happened to the hero of our story, a man called Edgar Villchur. He had a background in art history, but World War II got his ass and sent it to Papua New Guinea, where he ended up fixing radios. It turned out to be something he was both good at and passionate for, so he came home after the war and started studying engineering and maths, eventually founding the world's first university course in sound reproduction. Now, he's doing all this at a time when coming home and listening to music in your own home is actually starting to become a serious thing. By the 1950s, audio electronics had come on a lot, for reasons you can probably figure out by yourself. Which means amplifiers and record players had gotten a lot better in the last sort of 10 years. Because of this, and because of the invention of the LP record, in 1948, I think it was. This is a show and tell segment, that's what that looks like. People had started spending serious money on being able to listen to music high quality at home. And like we said, the amplifier is sounding great, the record player is sounding great. There's just one weak link in the chain, and it's the big one. Yeah, more show and tell. The speakers. Speakers in the early 1950s just kind of sounded like shit. To put, not too fine a point on it. They just weren't up to standard. Speakers, such as this big one here or the little ones in these headphones, work by wiggling around these cones. They're made of paper or plastic, and they get moved back and forward really quickly by a magnet inside of them. This wiggling then creates sound waves that we can hear. But to make this cone vibrate instead of just staying there when the magnet pulls it, the magnet needs something to kind of push against. Until this point, this was done with a spring, which is okay for small, high-frequency sounds, but when bass comes in, it just doesn't sound good. It leads to lots of distortion. The reason for this is that to make a bass tone, to make these low frequencies, we have to move the speaker cone more, which the spring just can't deal with. As soon as you move it too much, it starts locking up and it starts behaving in weird ways. Edgar was fed up with this. He wanted to find another way to make this speaker cone vibrate. And this is when he had a genius idea.
I thought that I would substitute a different kind of restoring force by decimating the springy stiffness of the suspensions, allowing very large motion. But you can't just do that and not replace it. You still need that restoring force. So I used the air spring, the cushion of air in a small cabinet, to serve as this restoring force.
In other words, if we can trap just the right amount of air in a sealed space, it works a lot like a perfect spring, giving that magnet on that speaker cone something to push back against. Like the mechanical springs that we had, but just better. They don't distort when we have lots of bass. Villchur knew all he'd have to do was make the speaker the right size and seal it up, and the air would do all the work. No springs required. This is definitely going to break my microphone. By the time he made his first prototype, Edgar Villchur realized that he was cooking. It just sounded so much better than any existing stereo setup. He knew he was onto a winner here, and not just because it sounded good, but because it was so small. You need that little compact bit of air for it to work properly like a spring. And this was a huge benefit because the speakers that existed at the time were wham. They were literally fridge sized, so more fitting for like a cinema than bringing it home and whacking on the bookshelf. So naturally what Villchur did was take it to a load of manufacturers, take it to people that already make speakers. And one by one, they all turned him down, basically saying, it's impossible, mate. You can't do that. That doesn't work like that, mate. Despite the fact he'd already built one. So Villchur said, fuck it, I'll do it myself then. He didn't have the money to get a patent lawyer, so he found one guy who'd train him up on the basics for a couple of hours, read a few books and filed his own patent with the help of his wife, who did all the drafting, which I think, you know, power couple, we love to see that. So with his prototype built and his patent ready, he founded his own company, Acoustic Research. Villchur's idea quickly became the new paradigm in speaker design, adopted by pretty much every other company. This is how most speakers work to this day. His company, Acoustic Research, was rapidly successful. They just had so much a better product than anything else on the market. They became the favorite speakers of countless musicians and recording studios around the world, pioneering not just in sound, but in marketing. It often seems like they were just kind of having fun with it in this period. One thing they would commonly do was host live versus recorded performances, where an audience would have to try and distinguish between a real quartet and recordings played through AR speakers. With his homebrew invention, made in his shed, Villchur had ushered in a new era of sound, and most importantly, had given humanity proper bass. It only took about 13 years for Villchur to get bored in the end, and by this point AR, his company, had hit 1/3 market share of the entire speaker market. This was a high watermark that just hasn't been seen before or after. And during this time they came up with a lot of game-changing innovations that still laid the basis for the kind of things that we have today in speakers, including the way that we make high frequency like treble sounds, and how we design turntables, record players today. But at this point, 1967, Villchur was ready for something else. He sold the company to another one with an agreement that he would never get back into the speaker making game again. He was too OP. And with good reasons. A lot of the AR speakers to this day are sought after by speaker nerds. After selling his company, Villchur went off to go design a whole new type of hearing aid that turned out to be the standard we use today as well. The guy's just unstoppable. So what is the moral of this story then? I don't know. I haven't got one. I thought it was cool. I thought it was interesting. I didn't know where that came from. Thank you so much for making it this far. I hope you found this video interesting. Let me know what we should drag up from the depths of history next. What invention is worth having a peep at. Please do subscribe. It means a lot. It doesn't, you know, it's free. They just let you do it. They just let you do it. It doesn't even cost anything. You can just press that button. Appreciate you. Love you. Bye.